Hello, teachers and students, and welcome to our Career Exploration Fair panel for financial services careers. My name is Sherry Albertson, and I am the Teller County Coordinator for Junior Achievement of Southern Colorado. We thank everybody so much for being here with us today. If you're attending live, the chat will be up in just a second. Please remember to tell us what school you're from when you're posting questions in the chat, and we will get to as many chat questions as possible. So how this is going to go today, first, I'll ask our panelists to introduce themselves, then we'll ask our predetermined junior achievement questions, and then we'll get to the questions from the chat. So let's get started. Our first panelist is Ms. Shannon Anderson from Vectra Bank in Woodland Park, Colorado. Ms. Shannon, please say hi and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself and your career.
Good afternoon. My name is Shannon Anderson, and I am the market president for Vectra Bank in Woodland Park, Colorado. And I started my banking career in 1994 as a teller. And I basically got into the financial field because I wanted what everybody thinks is banker's hours. That is not the case, but that's why I got into the field and never quite left. So it's been a great career. I've enjoyed it. And that's me.
Thanks so much, Ms. Shannon.
Thank you.
And now we'll hear from Ms. Sherry Griffin. Ms. Sherry, please say hi and tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Good afternoon. I'm so excited to be here with you all today. I am Sherry Griffin. I'm a human resources advisor with T. Rowe Price in the compliance operations team. And I started with T. Rowe Price 16 years ago. I just celebrated my 16-year anniversary. I had no prior experience in human resources before I started with T. Rowe Price, so it's been a great learning opportunity. I've learned a lot about people, and I would say that I kind of fell into human resources, but it's been a great experience so far.
Thanks so much for sharing that. Next up, we have Tracy Kovitz, if I did that correctly at all.
That's okay.
Tracy, please say hi and tell us a little bit about yourself and your career.
Great. I'm Tracy Kovitz, and I am a retail district manager and vice president for TCF Bank in Colorado Springs and South Denver. So I cover 14 branches in between the two geographies. I've been in banking for 20 years, 16 of which I also just celebrated, like Sherry, with TCF. And in my previous life, I was in specialty retail, which took me, from Minnesota. I'm actually from Minnesota. It took me from Minnesota to Memphis to Atlanta. And then eventually I landed here in Colorado and decided to pursue banking. And I love it because we get to help people every day build their lives and their financial acumen. So excited to be here. Thanks.
Thank you for that. Next up, we have Mr. Kevin Lacey. Could you please say hi and tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do there at T. Rowe Price?
Hi, Sherry. My name is Kevin Lacey. I'm a lead manager here at T. Rowe Price. I've been with T. Rowe for a little over 10 years now. It's hard to believe. When I graduated college, this was the first job I got. And I've stayed with T. Rowe Price ever since. But within T. Rowe Price, I've moved around a lot of different roles. And I think the thing that's kept me here for so long is that similar to what Tracy was sharing with her company, we are able to help people reach their financial goals. Currently, I work in our retirement plan services organization, helping people save in their retirement plans.
Okay, thanks so much. Next up, we have Mr. Stanley Bendawa, I think. And go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do at T. Rowe Price.
All right, thank you, Sherry. And again, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Stan Bendawa, and I'm Senior Implementation Manager at T. Rowe Price. And I'm feeling like the old guy on the block. I've been with the firm for coming up on 19 years. So I also started right out of college. It was one of my first jobs, and similar to Kevin, I've been able to work in various different departments during my time at T. Rowe Price. And I actually started out in our offices in Owings Mills, Maryland. And in 2007, I relocated here to our offices in Colorado Springs. And I pretty much spend most of my day as a senior implementation manager assisting our clients with onboarding their 401k plans over to T. Rowe Price.
Thanks so much for sharing that. And then we have Nick Robinette. Hi, Nick. Please go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and what do you do at T. Rowe Price?
Hi, Sherry. Thanks for the introduction. My name is Nick Robinette. I've been with T. Rowe Price, or in the financial services world, since 2003. Originally, what got me interested about financial services is I remember going through, I think it was 8th or 9th grade. I had an assignment to learn what a stock was and follow it on the stock market. And I was working with my dad on that. And he shared with me his investments, and we kind of kept that conversation going, and the interest was always there. So after I graduated college, I started T. Rowe Price, and currently I'm a supervisor. And what that does is I help kind of with some issues as things go up, but my primary function day to day is to help my team of individuals that report to me gain skills and confidence to be able to do their job at a higher level, and then progress into different roles as they go through. I love what I do, and I'm very grateful to have the job that I have.
Thanks so much for sharing that. Okay, so we're going to get into our questions now. And the first question I have for you all is, what are some ways to fund the education that's required in your field? What are some ways to fund the education that's required in your field? And I am going to call on Tracy first.
Sure. Yeah, obviously that you can, take out loans, student loans. But one of the things that we do offer in the bank, and I think most banks do, is tuition reimbursement, which I highly encourage. If you can get in on the ground floor as a teller, as I actually started as a teller in banking as well, because I didn't know anything about it and I really wanted to learn. But if you take relevant classes like business classes, accounting classes, management classes, those are all covered by the tuition reimbursement that the company invests in you. So it's a great benefit.
Thanks so much for sharing the important points. How about Mr. Stan? Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think I would also encourage the students to also look for scholarship opportunities. There are a wealth of scholarships that I'm familiar with that are, let's say, for example, for women in finance or women in banking, or for minorities in finance. So I would say take some time to really do some research to understand what scholarship opportunities might be available.
Sure, and I'm sure that there's a lot of folks in the guidance counselors' offices in the schools that could also help out with finding those scholarships. Does anyone else have anything to add about the best ways to fund education for a banking career?
Sherry, I can share a little bit. So I definitely agree with the thoughts that have been shared already, but one of the things that I did growing up, I didn't come from a family that had a lot of financial resources to help me out. So as soon as I turned 16, I got a job and I started working hard and saving for my first car, buy gas money, and then setting money aside to help fund my future education. I was one of the first people in my family to go to college. And so I didn't really have that career path set for me, but I knew it was something that I wanted to do. And then while I put myself through school, I worked full time. So I balanced a full-time schedule in college and didn't take on student loans. And it was a lot of hours and it was a lot of hard work, but it's definitely helped put me in a position to be successful today.
Thanks so much for sharing those tips, Kevin. That's great. So we're going to move on to our second question now. What are some best practices for preparing for a career in your industry? And then if you could do it again, would there be anything that you could do differently? And I'm going to go ahead and call on Ms. Shannon for this one.
Thank you, Sherry. So I would say some of the best practices, definitely just to add on to what Tracy said, was start off as a teller if you want to get into the financial industry, learn how the banking world works. I started off as a teller as well, and you can also utilize your company's resources to take on extra classes that they may be giving to add on to your college classes, and just, take your required math classes, definitely some speech classes. You need to get comfortable speaking in front of a large group of people, presentation skills, sales skills, and coaching skills if you're going to be managing employees.
Thank you so much. Those are all really, really good tips. Thank you. How about Ms. Sherry? Do you have anything to add to that? Oh, you're on mute still. Happens to all of us.
I echo what Shannon said. Also, I think understanding the role you want to go into, really learning that before you come into the industry. As she mentioned, writing skills, communication skills. I think sociology and physics, some of those classes really apply well to specifically human resources. And then in human resources, there are a lot of different departments that fall under human resources. So again, really learning, networking, and understanding where you want to go in that industry.
And Sherry, since you were talking about human resources, I'm going to go ahead and just jump to the next question for you. It is, what are some trends that you see in hiring in your industry? So you'd probably be the perfect person to answer that.
The trends are interesting, especially because we're in a pandemic. We are seeing our candidates that are coming in want to promote quickly. They're looking for change quickly within the organization, sometimes outside, but definitely within the organization. We also have candidates who are looking for flexibility, whether it's personal, working from home, that work-life balance. The trend is really going to how is this role going to fit into my personal life? Can I spend time at home? Can I have flexible hours? We are also seeing people that want to work not just from home, but from different locations. We're getting a lot of requests for outside of the country in our locations that were located globally. So that is definitely increased quite a bit even in the last year.
Oh, that's really interesting. I never thought about that. So thank you so much for sharing that. How about Nick? Do you have anything else that you'd like to add to that? What have you seen?
I think the main thing that I've seen is people, like Sherry said, wanting to come in and, work. A lot of folks are coming in at that base level role and they want to transition into something more. It's our version of a teller. Generally, it's that frontline customer service role where a lot of what we do is phone-based or processing-based, and they want to come in, quickly master that, and then go on. They want to have the flexibility, not only with potential future roles, but also with things like working from home and having kind of resources that are there. One of the things that I've noticed as well is that the folks that come into the role now, they're a little bit more, if you want to say digitally advanced or computer savvy than probably where we were at 3 or 4 years ago. Just navigating, kind of being your own troubleshooting department when you're having issues at home is a new skill that our employees are having to master.
Thanks so much for sharing that information with us. Anybody else have anything you'd like to add for this question? The follow-on to this question, we've already kind of covered it already, is how can students best position themselves for a career in your field? I know we talked about the classes to take in high school and how it's important to have that education. But Tracy, is there anything else that you can think of about how students could best position themselves for a career in financial services?
I think obviously being good with money and understanding it, you need to be able to count money. That's a challenge that we have with a lot of people, is that they don't have any cash handling experience. Being able to talk to people and being empathetic and earn people's trust, because in the financial services industry, if people don't trust you, they're not going to do business with you. And that's really important, to be honest. One other thing I was thinking of too is that if you have the ability to work on a team, that's really helpful too, whether it be a sports team or DECA or, you know, some sort of other team that you have in school, to be able to communicate with people and not just be digitally communicating with people, because our customers we don't text our customers, we talk to our customers. So those are just some of the additional things I would say would be helpful.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I just kind of thought about another question I'm going to throw to Miss Shannon. So when you started out as a teller, what was your most challenging aspect of learning how to be a teller?
Oh, you're making me think way back. I think the sales part was the hardest part for me. Prior to banking, I had worked in an office at a grocery store. So I was counting all of the checker drawers. So I was already used to counting money. So I think the referring products and services to customers was my toughest thing to get used to when I started as a teller.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that.
You're welcome.
We do have a couple questions coming in on chat, but I just wanted to ask real quickly again. I know we talked a little bit about COVID-19 and how that's affected the financial services industry. But Stan, do you have anything to add to anything about the COVID-19 pandemic?
I guess kind of going back to the question that you asked about hiring, and I think what I see that's pretty unique during the pandemic environment is that there are a lot of individuals that are changing careers or making a choice to change careers during the pandemic. And that's what I've seen from a hiring standpoint. I think in general, I think we've all had to adjust and flex how we work, how we communicate during COVID. And I think that's a great exercise, at least for the kids, to be able to see whether it's their friends, family members, or parents' experience having to flex and change. Because I think once you get into a corporate environment, I think all of us on the video here today can attest that things change quite frequently in the financial industry from a regulatory and from a legislative standpoint, and we've got to be able to flex and adjust.
Thank you. Yep, that's so important to know. All right, so let's get to some chat questions because we have some coming in. So Jordan asks, did you know that you wanted to be in banking when you were in high school? So did you know when you were in high school that you wanted to get out of high school and jump into banking? Who would like to answer that question?
Hello, Sherry. No, I didn't actually. I wanted to be a teacher, and I used to pretend that I was a teacher when I was young and grade papers and stuff like that. That was a long time ago, but I am a teacher. I ultimately ended up being a teacher because I'm a manager, and I have 70 people that report to me. So I'm constantly trying to help them grow as an individual and be better in who they are, and watch them get promoted. So ultimately I landed with what I'm doing, but not specifically in a school.
Kevin, I see you nodding your head. What do you have to add to that?
Yeah, so when I was in high school, I played a lot of sports, and I had this dream in my head that I was going to be the next great basketball player. That clearly did not work out. But what I really learned after having a few significant injuries is that what did I like? What did I have an interest in? And I didn't really even know that when I started college. I just knew that getting an education at a higher level would be beneficial for me. And so as I started taking more classes and learning a little bit more about finance, I really started to find that that was the path I wanted to go. And a few key classes throughout my time in college really helped shape the direction of where I wanted to go. So I would just say it's okay not knowing what you want to do, but keep building that foundation for those steps you're going to take later, and it will pay off in time.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That's so important for our students to know. Let's see, we have a question from Amanda. She would like to know, What is your favorite part of your job? And I'm going to let Nick go first on this one.
Yeah, I think there's two things. One, I want to say when I was client facing more so than now, the main part of my job now is my team and seeing my team grow and seeing that success. And that's what my immediate satisfaction is right now. But when I was client facing and not in a leadership role, seeing people take action that I knew was going to strengthen their future, and seeing people say, hey, I need to make goals to save more money, or I need to make goals to make smarter financial decisions. And knowing that if they stick to those goals, that conversation that they had with me is going to have an impact with them 3 to 5 to 20 years down the road, if they were able to do that. In the current role as a leader, like seeing people progress through their career, gain skills to help them have those types of impacts on clients down the road. So while I'm not directly responsible for it, my efforts to help my associates gain those skills helps other people meet those goals.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. How about Miss Sherry?
So I would definitely echo what Nick said about seeing people come in and really become successful. I work with candidates and that have said, I've never been in the financial industry. I don't know anything about it. I don't know what I'm doing. And they come into T. Rowe Price and they really learn and they really, again, advance in their career. So that's one of the most enjoyable parts of my job. The other one I would say is T. Rowe Price as an organization does a lot in the community, and it's really fun to watch all the energy and money and support that we put into our communities, not here just specifically in Colorado Springs, but around the globe, and really seeing those relationships being built and the people that we impact.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I appreciate it. All right, Mr. Stan, I'm going to throw the next student question over to you. And let's see. Oh, this is a good one. So I think she says her name Kaimani would like to know, how do you handle upset customers?
Oh boy, that's a great question. I look at it whenever those instances do happen, just really being able to understand why the individual is upset. I think we can all say, when issues do come up, I guess the first step is just taking the time to listen to what the issues are. And then understanding, let's say if I'm using T. Rowe Price as an example, are there any types of services that we might offer that could help address whatever the concern may be? And also just being empathetic, just meeting them where they're at, listening to their tone, and just trying to meet people where they're at. And with the end goal of, we want our customers to be happy. Client satisfaction is very important. And at the end of the day, just being able to address their needs. And then sometimes we're not able to do that. But I think that's really the goal. And I've seen where if a client or customer really gets a sense that, Stan is being genuine, he's heard, he's listening to me, he's presented a number of different options to help address the concern, they walk away pretty satisfied at the end of the day.
Thank you so much. Right. I remember when I was in a services field, the customer is always right. We learned that. So Miss Shannon, I know you talked a little bit about math classes. Matthew wants to know, what particular math classes do you use most in your job now?
Well, for my job as a market president, I do a lot of business development. I do a lot of business lending. I do a lot of community involvement. However, with the technology that we have today, we have all kinds of programs that do the math for us. So I really don't use a lot of math. There's a basic understanding that you need to have simple addition and subtracting, especially if you're starting out as a teller, so that you can count money back to the client. But as far as calculus, trig, any of those hardcore math classes, I never had to take. and I don't use them on a normal basis. I'm a social person. I am not an analytical person, but that does not mean you cannot be in the financial industry.
Thank you so much for that. Kevin, anything to add? What kind of math classes did you have?
So similar to Shannon, I think knowing the fundamentals is going to be very important for your career. So addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, those are the things that you probably need to have the best understanding of coming into this field. But I think I agree with Shannon. We have a lot of systems that will do the work for you, but you need to have that understanding so you can double check to make sure the formula is working correctly, the system's not wrong, because you'll get these situations that maybe come your way. Maybe it could be someone who is unhappy about something that happened in their account, and you have to understand, are they correct and we made a mistake and we need to go back and fix it, or is something else going on? So it's not so much that you have to have great advanced math skills, but having the fundamentals down. And even when the systems are doing the work for you, being able to validate, yep, that looks correct because this is what the formula should spit out at the end of the day.
Thanks so much for sharing that. Math was not one of my strong suits, so I'm glad to hear that it came in handy for someone out there. So Mr. Nick, next question I'm going to throw for you. What's something about your job that would surprise people?
That's kind of a tough one. The math one was a lot easier. I mean, I would say that I've been in the industry since 2003, and I have never had a day that is exactly the same as the previous day. Everything is basically like, hey, this is what the components of the day are going to be, but every day is completely different, and every day brings about a new challenge. There's never like a repetitive, like this, that, the other. There's always some wrinkle that's going to throw you a curveball, and you never stop learning. I mean, I've been doing this role in my 18 years. I've been doing it for probably close to 10, and there's always a new challenge, and you can never master everything completely. And I think that probably goes with just about any role in the financial services field. I don't know if that's a surprise, but I would say that that's kind of the biggest thing that kind of keeps you on your toes.
Thanks for that. Miss Tracy, any surprising things in your banking career?
Well, I think people think that we print money in the bank, which we don't. That's for the Federal Reserve. But I think people think, and I kind of thought, that banking was going to be a little boring at first. And it's really what you make of it. And we like to have fun and play and, you know, do hula hoop contests and whatever we can to keep people engaged. So it's not just sitting there at the grind at a computer all day. That's not how you keep people engaged. And, you know, it is fun. You go to work, but you can go to fun at the same time. You just got to keep it professional. So, but I would keep that in mind. It's not boring. And like Nick said, it's different every day.
Thanks so much. I'm glad to hear that there can be some fun in the banking career as well. So we have a few more minutes left. Does anyone else have anything that they'd like to add to the questions that I've asked? Any other thoughts that come to your mind? I'm thinking about Ms. Sherry probably has something else she could add, especially with being involved with human resources.
I have a lot that I could add, but I only have a minute. So one thing I think that surprises people about what I do, doesn't surprise me, but surprises even my coworkers sometimes. I do the criminal backgrounds and I process all the fingerprints. So I do see everything that comes through on a criminal background. So people are surprised by what's on there or what I adjudicate. So that's probably one of the most surprising things. Again, I've seen it all, so it doesn't surprise me. So one other thing I would say to the students, being in the background area that I'm in, your choices, I'm sure you hear this from your parents and your teachers, your choices do impact your future, good or bad. So I see things from years ago that sometimes are a challenge in the financial industry to adjudicate. So just keep that in mind.
I am so glad that you shared that. That is so important for the students to know. If no one else has anything else they'd like to add, I think we need to wrap up. We're right at about 30 minutes in our interview today.
Sherry,
Does anyone else? Go ahead.
I actually do have just one last piece to add to it, is that within the finance industry, there are a wealth of positions and different roles that are available. Everything ranging from, we have our fund managers to individuals that, their day-to-day responsibility is managing a social media profile, a Facebook profile. So I would say, as you're exploring or researching, your interest in the finance industry, take the additional step to figure out all the different roles that will be available to you at the time, and see which one would be a great fit for you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate those additional words of wisdom. Thank you. So I think that we're all done for today, and we've had a really great panel of people joining us today. Thank you so much to everyone for spending your time. Students, if you have questions for your panelists that were not answered during this session, please send them to your JA district representative, and we'll make sure that we get answers back for you as quickly as possible. Thank you again to all our panelists, and thank you for the students and the teachers for joining us today. And everyone have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.